What's going, guys? Andrew from Theme Park Magic. Today I make a video discussing the outright filming policy for both Universal Orlando Parks and Adventure Universal Studios. When I visited the park during summer 2021, the Universal Guest Service team member told me it's a per individual attraction policy, meaning for both parks, each individual attraction has their own policy regarding on-ride filming. Let's make a quick note. Check out the defunct Shrek attraction part of the video. You can still find the original attraction filming video here on the channel. Let's dive right into the video and start with Escape from Green Goddess's on-ride attraction filming policy. Alright, talks to the team members at the front of the Hersheypark Escape from Green Goddess attraction. They have any idea of the filming policy for this attraction. Based on their knowledge of that being said, I had to use my own best judgment as a guest to determine if I was allowed to film this attraction. So my GoPro, a small square-sized camera secured to a wrist strap secured to my wrist, shoved it in my shorts pocket, getting ready to film this attraction, boarded the ride vehicle, my operations team member of this attraction, looked at my camera visually, did not say anything about I was not allowed to film the attraction, put the camera away, and with that being said, if I had a moment in time, I knew right then and there that I was allowed to film this attraction. As you got to enjoy up to this point, these are ride video clips of this attraction, the first ever attraction I got to film in Universal Studios Florida. Next attraction we're going to discuss is Man in Black Alien Attack and the ride policy for this attraction regarding filming. Alright, so the Universal Studios Florida team member for Man in Black Alien Attack is more than happy to explain me the policy for this attraction. So specifically with this attraction, he explained me and knew the policy of why you're not allowed to film it. It deals with 3 specific parts. Part 1 deals with cameras considered a loose sparkle. Of course, in any attraction that makes sense. No in-depth explanation there. Second part deals with the spinning of this attraction. Again, the spinning of this attraction is intense. I'll reiterate, intense because of this attraction being the idea of it being similar to Toy Story Mania Disney's Hollywood Studios, but because this being Man in Black themed attraction is spinning being intense, deal with camera race or loose arc or anything, just being a potential injury or just issue. And besides that, the third and last part of the reason why for this policy and for the purpose of it is because of people, again, regular guests, people sneaking on cameras to this attraction. Clearly, the team member said specifically that there's a sign saying the load station, no filming photography of this attraction, specifically stay on a sign. But against the people try to find a way in which they do to illegally film this attraction when there's a sign saying you cannot. So that's a 3-part explanation of this filming policy and why you're not allowed to film this attraction, Man in Black Alien Attack. With that being said, moving on to the next attraction, Universal Studios Florida. Alright, next attraction I discuss briefly is the Simpsons ride, found in the Simpsons area of the park. Again, I didn't have time to talk to the Universal Studios team member regarding this attraction, the filming policy of this attraction. So that being said, I don't have any idea of the filming policy of this attraction. That being said, moving on to the next attraction. Alright, we're going to talk about Jimmy Fallon, the Race to New York simulator attraction. This attraction, the reason why I can't film it based upon a pre-show video of the attraction, based on my reasoning, I think it's because of copyright laws or issues that deal with Universal and Jimmy Fallon, and likeness of him as character used in the attraction. This is why I think you can't film it because of that, and copyright issues again with that specific reason with Jimmy Fallon. That being said, this is an attraction you cannot film at Universal Studios Florida. Let's move on to the next Universal Studios attraction. Alright, so with Rip Ride Rocket, this intense roller coaster park, similar to give you an example of Fahrenheit at Hersheypark as a comparable example. This attraction, again, an intense roller coaster of such, whether it be Fahrenheit or here Rip Ride Rocket in Universal Studios Florida. Cannot film it because of loose article policy, obviously, for intense roller coaster, loose articles, and in potential injury to other riders or that type of thing, so that makes most sense. Move on to the next attraction, Fast and Furious Supercharged. Alright, so talking with the lady at the attraction who's actually the manager of the attraction Fast and Furious Supercharged, she said there was no problem at all filming this attraction, so then I was allowed to go ahead and film it. That being said, from this response, the lady was the manager of the attraction, says being allowed to film this attraction, it's another attraction you can film at the park. That being said, moving on to the next attraction, was actually a show, the Born Stuntacular. Now, the Born Stuntacular, this being a show, you cannot film, unfortunately, due to the idea when one of my family members thought it was because of copyright issues when they was posting a sign saying not allowed to film the show. I'm not sure because, obviously, this is a popular franchise, Jason Bourne, and there's movies and stuff like that with the franchise and the movies and everything, again, are just so popular. It's copyright issues and stuff like that. Someone's whole Jimmy Fallon Shrek thing. With that being said, moving on to the next attraction, since this was pretty obvious in my opinion. Alright, the next attraction, Transformers the Ride 3D. Talked to the team member at the front of the attraction for this ride. Again, they had no idea all about the filming policy for this attraction, so essentially the idea was thought to be no, you can't film it, but again, it's another attraction. It's undetermined the policy, so again, because this policy is undetermined, the team member didn't know. Can't really give a explanation on this attraction. So again, moving on to the next attraction. Alright, the second last attraction in this list of attractions regarding filming policies is E.T. the Adventure. The classic dark rides open to the park since the park is open opening day back in the 1980s or so. And with that being said, with this attraction specifically, you are allowed to film it, no problem with team members. The classic dark ride, no issues. Final attraction tying to this is Revenge of the Mummy. Now I try to use my chest strap with GoPro secured to try to film this attraction. Stopped by the team members, said not allowed to film it. Did not give an explanation why, but again, when say you're not allowed to film it, that's the answer right there. But because specifically the way I was looked at everything by the team member, this may be an attraction I have to revisit in the future to fully understand the attraction's policy. That makes sense. Concludes my list of filming policies of these specific attractions on over Universal Studios. Join me next in part 2 in this video, Islands of Adventure. Alright, so for these attractions at Universal Islands of Adventure, I'm going to speed them pretty quickly because they were similar in policies to some of the attractions at Universal Studios Florida. That being said, the Seuss Trolley, the People Mover type attraction, Seuss Landing, and the Cat in the Hat Dark Ride, both attractions, the team members for these attractions don't have a problem with them being filmed. That being said, that's the policy for both attractions, no issues there. Third attraction, again, as far as my understanding, this Poseidon's Adventure theater attraction, you guys know what it's called, but there's a plot around the idea of Poseidon and everything, that walk-through indoor show. But I think originally you were allowed to film it, but they might change that policy. Again, this may be an attraction to revisit in the future because they changed the policy and get the full understanding. That being said, let's move on to the next attraction. Alright, next few attractions will be in the Hersheypark section of the park. Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. Give a specific explanation of this. Now, originally, my understanding, you might find this part interesting, but of the times that I done this attraction and I filmed it, and, similar to the whole Green Dot situation, I'll shorten it, but the whole idea of sticking my short, small, square-sized GoPro camera secured to the wrist strap in my pocket from that attraction, do it that way, some of the Green Dots, some idea. But the one explanation I'll go in depth with was one team member at Universal who was managing the ride or operations. I was going to film this attraction. This team member specifically, because of the issue of this, made a whole issue of my GoPro, essentially saying, "Oh, I can't film the ride," giving up being authoritative, and it actually was just a guy managing, the number of people loading onto the ride vehicle. So he wasn't a manager of the attraction. But I guess once some of the manager of the attractions figured out what this team member was saying and how he was handling the whole situation, they didn't make a deal about it. But it was enough where to go guest service, get this, explain the issue and everything. Because this team member acted in authority position, wasn't a position of authority, and telling me as a guest what I do, I can and cannot do with my GoPro specifically, and because of how he's acting, and because of that, it was enough where guest services in part were able, and also because of my part, we're able to change this rule per se, saying that you're now allowed to carry, because of this, your small cameras with you on your person. As far as filming, I have to do myself, I treat it the same way as Green Dots. Because of this issue and situation, and this being a solved issue, slightly changes the policy for Hagrid's. So that's good on my part. I was able to work with the park with that. That makes sense, Hagrid's. Let's move on to Forbidden Journey and the Jurassic World section of the park. Alright, so Forbidden Journey, this is a specific attraction. How it goes is this ride does have a specific attraction regarding filming. So you are allowed to film this ride. This lady's the manager of the attraction, a higher position with this attraction, didn't know the policy, so she explained to me that in order to film this attraction, because it's like an indoor roller coaster type of ride, going through sets and props and screens. So the specific way to film this attraction, as she told me that my GoPro had to be secured. She said one way is to a lanyard around my neck secured. That way, I guess, so it wouldn't fall off. She said one way. Then she said the other way, and she was referring to the wrist strap, or she was saying this part, I briefly remember, but she did mention another way specific like that. It's supposed to be secured to film it. But that's the way that I did with the other Universal attraction, that I used my wrist strap to film this attraction. and it's not an issue with the team members. Of course, some of the green guys that looked at it had an issue when I had filmed it. That's also because she told me about, because she looked at my camera, my manager of the attraction, per se, Lay was. And then she said because it was a small camera, it wasn't an obvious issue. It wasn't like a big, like, annoying or per se, thing that could be distracting. So that being said, Graverian Journey is an attraction allowed to film, but a specific way you're supposed to film it. Alright, next attraction, Jurassic Park River Adventure, the water ride, one of 3 water rides in the Park Universal Islands of Adventure. This attraction, for minimum, I understand the policy, you're not allowed to film, because I think the Universal Studios team member told me I just put my camera away. I'm sure they said briefly what we're about, because it's getting wet, or the idea of like water damage. It makes sense, but again, it's maybe another attraction to revisit to fully understand the policy of the attraction regarding filming it, similar to Revenge of the Mummy. Next attraction is going to be Jurassic World Velocicoaster. Again, with Artets roller coasters, not allowed to film it again because lose articles and same policies, similar to the idea of Rip Ride Rocket and the same application of what Hulk is. Again, injury and type of thing was articles, so that's 2 policies tied in there to 1. That being said, next attraction is going to be 2 water rides at that section of the park and the 2 lagoon section of the park. Now, with that specifically, according to Mr. Ricksflix, a popular YouTuber, wears a yellow shirt and is style. He said that the way, as I asked him before, this attraction, because he filmed on Popeyes and Blues Bar, just the Raft River water ride, similar to Caliber Rapids' Animal Kingdom. So using a GoPro is allowed, not an issue, or being stopped by Universal team members, not being prohibited. So you're allowed to film that attraction, according to him. And what he knows. And then next is the Ripsaw Falls log flume attraction, surveying log flume attraction. They may be familiar with this attraction. Now, time again, similar to a few other attractions, not ask the team member about the attraction, about if allowed to film it or not, and the policy regarding filming this attraction. Alright, moving on to the next few attractions of the video, toward the end section of the video. Alright, finishing out the video, last 2 attractions, Dr. Doom's Fearful. Of course, you can't film his Drop Tower attraction, which are not written, but of course, for a reason why you can't film this attraction, like our attractions, there's our policy, no explanation there. Last final attraction, Spider-Man attraction, similar to the one attraction that is great I've written before, Transformers the Ride. And that being said, Spider-Man again is a great attraction like Transformers is. With that being out of the way, I want to say that you are allowed to film Spider-Man, talk to the team member of the attraction, so there's no issue with that. But it is up to debate why you can and cannot do something with these attractions as far as filming. Why, again, you cannot film Transformers, or why you're allowed to film Spider-Man. It gets up to debate. That being said, end the video. Thanks for listening to my thoughts on the explanation of these ride policies. If you like more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel in the future. Like this video, comment down your thoughts below. This has been Andrew from Theme Park Magic. Have a great day, morning, evening, whatever time it may be. Don't forget to face your fears and ride on.